The 2024 presidential race is heating up. The breaking news, Vice President Harris has chosen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. And according to 538's average of national polls, Vice President Harris and former President Trump have been virtually neck and neck.
Harris is leading slightly in the battleground states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, where she is set to appear with Walz later today. Joining us now to discuss the state of the race, former New York Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good to see you.
It's great to be with you both.
So I have to ask you, what do you think of Kamala Harris's choice?
You know, what's interesting is because the right, the left, the center, Republicans, Democrats beforehand were essentially agreeing that Josh Shapiro was the stronger pick, being the governor of Pennsylvania, a very popular governor of Pennsylvania. A lot of people thought that Kamala Harris would pick Josh Shapiro. And it'll be interesting to hear from Kamala Harris about that, because there's speculation that the biggest risk, the biggest vulnerability that Josh Shapiro had was his religion. He's Jewish. Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, I served with him in the House. He is further left as far as his record goes. So as far as issues related to immigration and crime and more, he has a record that is going to get picked apart. He was the pick of Senator Bernie Sanders and many on the further left of the Democratic Party. So Kamala Harris making this decision shows that she is making a calculation to try to shore up that left wing of the party. So an interesting pick as you move towards a general election. And really the battle is for the voters in the middle, the undecided, independent-minded Americans who maybe still haven't decided yet whether they're going to vote for President Trump or Vice President Harris, and whether or not they should even show up to vote, which in a year like this year really is so crazy that anyone would sit this one out.
It is definitely a big news day indeed. You got a chance to speak at the R-N.Y last month in Milwaukee, and a lot has changed since then. The Democrats now have a lot of momentum. What do Republicans need to do to stop that?
So right now, with a day like today, where the vice president's picking her vice presidential nominee, and the Democratic convention coming up here over the course of the next couple of weeks, there's a possibility that this honeymoon period that the vice president may continue. We'll see. But you're defining a general election message. What is this campaign going to be about? And it's going to be important to communicate to the voters on where you stand on the issues that are most important to these Americans who are still undecided.
There's no question former President Trump has a very strong base. You mentioned those moderate, independent voters. What do you think he has to do in order to get those people to turn up to vote for him?
Great question. So if you are a voter who is an independent-minded voter talking about how the border is your top issue, President Trump should talk about his record, his actions when he was president, whether it was to build the wall, to get rid of catch and release, to enforce Remain in Mexico, Title 42. And then you had that shift under the Biden-Harris agenda, where on day one it was a top priority starting on the first day President Biden was in office, where he stopped construction of the border wall. He was ramping up catch and release. He was getting rid of Remain in Mexico. In the months that followed, getting rid of Title 42. So substantively, when you talk to these voters who are identifying as undecided, middle of the road, as you mentioned, you ask them, well, what's the most important issue to you? If they say it's the border, well, you talk about your record, talk about what's going on now under President Biden and Vice President Harris, and talk about what you would do if given the opportunity in 2025. And issue by issue, I mean, you see what's going on in Israel and Gaza, what's happening in Ukraine. There's so much conflict on the international stage. If that undecided voter says they want to talk foreign policy, national security, well, then just get into the substance, outline not just your record from the past, but what we're experiencing now and what you would do differently.
All right, former New York Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin. Lee, good to see you, and thanks a lot for coming on. We appreciate it.
Great to see you both. Thank you.
All right.